today we're going to be learning about les verbes réfléchis, or reflexive verbs in French. These are verbs that we do not distinguish in English, and although they aren't overly complicated, some students find them a little confusing. So I hope that this video will make it clear how to conjugate reflexive verbs. But just before we go on, just remember, réfléchis, verbes réfléchis are simply verbs that have regular EI-IR-RE endings that happen to have another small little word that precedes them. That's all there is to it. Ok, on y va. So, qu'est-ce que c'est un verbe réfléchi? C'est une action faite pour toi et par toi. That means it's an action that's done by you, for you, or an action done by the subject, for the subject. Exemple. Je me brosse les dents. Tu te réveilles à 6 heures. Elle se maquille. Nous nous lavons les mains avant le dîner. Vous vous dépêchez pour arriver à l'heure. Il se lève très tard le week-end. Je me brosse les dents means I brush my teeth. Tu te réveilles à 6 heures. You get up at 6 o'clock. Elle se maquille. She puts on makeup. Nous nous lavons les mains avant le dîner. We wash our hands before dinner. Vous vous dépêchez pour arriver à l'heure. You hurry to arrive on time. Il se lève très tard le weekend. They get up really late on the weekends. So you can see that all of these actions are ones that are done by the subject to the subject. Right? I am brushing my teeth. I'm not brushing someone else's teeth. I am brushing my own teeth. So these are verbs that are conjugated like regular verbs, and they have the words me, te, se, nous, vous, and ce in front of them. Exemple, je se réveillais. Je me réveille. I wake up. We have the regular ER ending with je is E, and then we have the word me in front because I am waking myself up. But in English we would just say I wake up. So what are the difference between reflexive verbs and non-reflexive verbs? Let's just look at that for a second to help you distinguish. Réveiller, like we said, is to wake up. But this one doesn't have the se in front of it, so it's not reflexive. Elle réveille sa sœur. She wakes up her sister. So this is not an action done by the subject to the subject. This is an action done by the subject to someone or something else, in this case the sister. So it's not reflexive. The reflexive version is se réveiller. Elle se réveille. She wakes up. So there's the difference. Notre exemple, laver, to wash. Il lave l'auto. He washes the car. Not a reflexive verb. Again, this is an action done by the subject to the car. But with se laver, il se lave le visage. He washes his face. This is an action done by the subject to the subject. So it's reflexive, and you need the little word se in front to indicate that. Alors, voilà la conjugaison des verbes réfléchis. So here's where you need to fill in the sheet beside you. We're going to conjugate the verb se brosser as an example, to brush. And the affirmative is je me brosse, tu te brosses, elle se brosse, nous nous brossons, vous vous brossez, et il se brosse. You can pause this here if you need to in order to fill this in on your sheet. But notice we have the regular endings for ER verbs. With je, it's E, tu, ES, with il, elle, just an E. With nous, we have ONS. With vous, EZ, and il ou elle plural, we have ENT. For the negative, we need to put ne pas around both the me, or the te, or the se, and the verb. So in the negative, I don't brush would be je ne me brosse pas. Tu ne te brosses pas. Il ne se brosse pas. Nous ne nous brossons pas. Vous ne vous brossez pas. Il, elle ne se brosse pas. So you're used to having just one word inside the ne pas, and now we have two. The object pronoun is what we call it, that little ne, te, se, nous, or vous, and the verb. So now we have a list of reflexive verbs that you are going to don't, what they mean, and we'll just conjugate them with je for simplicity. Je me dépêche means I hurry. And for some reason, this is not working. There it is. Je me dépêche, I hurry, or I hurry up. Je me lève, I get up. Now this is a verb you should take your pen and put a star beside it. Because notice, in the infinitive, there is no accent on the E, but when I conjugate it with je, all of a sudden there's an accent aigu. And that will happen with je, tu, il, and il pluriel. And elle, of course. Okay, je me réveillais becomes je me réveille. Je me maquille, je m'habille, je me lave, je me brosse, je me peine, je me sens, je me rappelle. And again, we have another weird verb here. Put a star beside se rappeler because it has one R in the infinitive and the nous and vous form. But as you can see with je, it has two L's. And that happens also with tu, il, and il pluriel. So we have je me lève, I get up. Je me réveille, I wake up. Je me maquille, I put on makeup. Je m'habille, I get dressed. Je me lave, I wash or I shower. Je me brosse, I brush. Je me peine, I comb. Je me sens, I feel. Et je me rappelle, I remember. Continuons. Je m'impatiente, I get impatient. Je me prépare, I get ready. Je me couche, I go to bed. Je me demande, I wonder. Je me décide, I decide. Je me rase, I shave. Je m'amuse, I have fun. Nous nous entendons, we get along. I've done this in the new form because s'entendre means to get along. And when you're talking about getting along, it usually is plural. We get along, they get along. You can't say I get along. You can't get along with yourself, really. Je me déguise en. This one is not on your sheet, but I would like you to add it. This means to get dressed or to dress up in costume. So, je me déguise en. You want to say I'm dressing up as a witch. Je me déguise en sorcière. Ok, maintenant, au verso. Pratiquons. Essayez de conjuguer les verbes suivants au présent. Numéro 1, nous nous lavons. And you should be pausing the video in here to try to conjugate these on your own before checking the answer. Se décider avec je me décide. Se préparer avec il se prépare. Se maquiller avec tu te maquilles. Se raser avec elle pluriel, elle se rase. Se brosser avec vous vous brossez. S'habiller avec je m'habille. Se coucher avec il se couche. Se réveiller avec nous nous réveillons. Se lever avec tu te lèves. Notice the accent aigu on the first E. Alors, il y a 5 phrases à la fin de la page que je veux que vous fassiez vous-même. I would like you to do the last 5 yourself. Et ça, c'est la fin du vidéo.